Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for spending time with me again today. I am very excited to be chatting today with Angela Harrison, who sells tie-dyed clothing. Angela, please, will you tell us a little bit more about your business and how you started it?
Hi, Melanie. Thanks for having me today. It started about 10 years ago. It originally started just with my husband wanting a funky tie-dye t-shirt, and he couldn't quite find one that he wanted, and started experimenting and playing, unknown to us that, there was going to be a little bit of bumps in the road coming that we didn't really know about. And when it kind of happened and we needed an extra income of some description, we decided we're going to upscale the craft that we were doing just for him and turn it into a little business. And we started at markets, much like you had done previously. We started at markets, and as people bought some of the t-shirts that we had made, we used that money to then buy more and more dye and that kind of thing. And we happened to come across you at one of the hobby expos.
Yes.
And you were giving away one of your free packs of dye at the stand. And when we took that home and we used it, I was blown away, because it was completely different. We had been using like a fabric paint system to do the tie
Okay.
dyeing, and the actual dyes, the fiber reactive dyes, was so much better. And we started our business basically doing that, and it grew from there. And now we have quite a successful business where I get clothing manufactured for me, and it comes to me and I dye it. That's pretty much how it started and why it started. And we've kept it going. Even though we no longer have those bumps in the roads, we kept it going because we love it. It's like opening Christmas presents with each one.
I love that. I love that. And I love how the craft again and again and again for so many people that I speak to is just so accessible. It's such an easy route to money in a way. You can
Mm-hmm.
buy t-shirts today, dye them tomorrow, and the next day you sell them for money. And you know,
Yes, indeed. I think it's something, and especially in the South African market, you grew that market really, really well,
mm,
and teaching people how to do the craft, and giving that opportunity to everybody in the country to be able to a relatively low income country, giving them the power to be their own boss again. And I think generally the South African market is very appreciative of that,
mm.
because I don't think there's anyone that you talk to in South Africa doesn't know who Melanie Brummer is and what she's doing about tie-dye.
Thank you for that. I did kind of leave a trail of distraction, didn't
You
I?
definitely did.
Distraction.
We constantly have people coming up to the stand and asking if we use Melanie Brummer's dyes.
Oh, really? That's so
Yes, it's
interesting.
a yeah, it's always from the very beginning. It's definitely, you've had the impact in the country. That's for sure.
Well, that's so interesting. It's great hearing that reflection. I don't always hear that side of the story, so thank you.
Hmm.
That's very meaningful to me. Now, what's it been like for you to be at the markets for so many years?
I think at the beginning it was a little bit strange. It was specifically for myself. I'm a scientist. I come from a very, what you would consider, routine, normal lifestyle, and then having those little bumps in the road, and you got to figure something out, right? And you start doing the markets, and it's different, and you come into contact with people, and as a scientist, you're normally the little lab rat who doesn't like, dealing with people too much. And
Mm,
then you develop as a person.
mm,
It's also a development of you as a social person,
mm,
and speaking to people and understanding, and how things are from their side and why they love tie dye. And the markets were slow for us at the beginning. You make a little bit of money here and there, and then it kind of explodes eventually for you. You learn that market really well. You know which markets to go to, which ones don't go to.
mm,
Sort of what you're expecting on the day. And yeah, so there's a lot of business skills that I learned from doing the tie dye at the
mm,
markets to start with. But
mm.
I still do it, and I still love it.
That's such a great story. I always feel that markets are kind of like training wheels for businesses. It's like
Definitely.
the technicon for somebody who wants to go into a small business. Don't bother going to learn at a college or something like that.
Hmm.
Just go to the markets for a year or two and you'll learn what you need to know.
Definitely. And I still use it in my current business. Even though my role is as a medical manager,
Mm,
um, that we have a lot of business that we do. And when I'm speaking in my meetings with my colleagues, a lot of my ideas and a lot of my knowledge comes from the knowledge of how business starts and how you have to interact with people. And
mm.
so it's definitely given me a skill set that most people don't have, and I
Yes.
didn't have to pay 300,000 for an MBA to be able to do it. So
Oh, I
to
love
gain
that.
that knowledge,
I
yeah,
love that. That's such great insight. Now, which markets are you doing at the moment? Because, choosing the ones that work and the ones that don't is critical to survival. So, which ones are
definitely.
working right now?
So my favorite market to go to at the moment is the Vegan Hippie Connection
Mm.
at Parkhurst. It's Pirates Football Club.
Mm-hmm.
And that definitely, it was a market that was started by a lady named Benita,
Mm.
and she's very passionate about veganism. And we had been at other markets with her before because she does a skincare range, that kind of thing. And she couldn't imagine opening a market without having us there, especially seeing it was a vegan hippie connection. So that's my favorite market to go to, and it's the last Sunday of every month that she does it.
Okay.
And it also, regardless of how big my business goes online, I will still continue to go there because I absolutely love the vibe, and I always have a good day there, even if maybe sales are a little bit slow.
Mm.
It's important that you enjoy having your day out with people and enjoying yourself out in nature, and
Mm.
that's definitely my favorite. And then the other one that's more, I'm going to say it's more for sales than it is for enjoyment and the vibe of the place, is a Horwoods market that happens in Edenvale.
Mm.
And as far as the feet going through there, that's definitely one of the higher ranking ones. But at the moment, it's sort of on hold because of the COVID situation.
Mm.
Whereas the vegan hippie connection, that's gone back on now. We had our last market; it was our first one of post COVID at the
Mm.
moment.
Mm.
And yeah, other than that, I do bigger festivals like Comic Con, those type of things, the
Mm.
Christmas Village, those, and they are always great for me.
Mm.
It's a lot of preparation, but it's a great market to go to.
Mm. Mm. Now, I know I learned some secrets when I was at the market for creating an experience in the stand and like little sales tricks that I had. Um, how do you create a great stand at a market that works well for your customers?
So the clothing has to be on display,
Mm.
not just on a rack. It's a big thing.
Mm.
If you just have t-shirts on a rack, it's really, you don't get to see all the little things that are on the rack and all
Mm.
the different designs and stuff. So I think my biggest benefit was when I got dolls. That go
Okay.
to the market with me, my
Okay.
mannequins that go to the market with me, because they're
Okay.
able to display the clothing in a way that you can't just have it hanging up. It actually displays it. And even if I put it somewhere else in the market, you know,
Yes.
it gains attraction. People, and then they sort of like asking, where's the stall that sells this, you know?
Yes.
So that's one of my biggest things. The actual stall has to be inviting, and I believe that your aura has a big impact. If you're in
Mm.
a bad mood that day, your sales are going to be bad
Mm.
because people are not going to want to come into your store.
Mm.
So if my husband's having a bad day, he gets sent away because I don't want the negativity in my stand, because people can feel, when somebody isn't happy, or
Absolutely.
so that's the other thing for me. I go with an open mind, and even though it's work, I have to enjoy it.
Mm.
And my aura in the stand, and actually not just treating a customer like they're a sale, but having a proper meaningful conversation with them,
Mm.
is my other, probably the biggest thing that helps me at my stand. And then being able to see that, it's a person, it's not just an article that they're buying, it's a person, it's their art, and it's their feelings and everything that when they made that garment went into it.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
think they appreciate that. It's not just your average Edgar's, that, somebody's walking into a retail store and getting something that's been mass produced.
Mm.
It's got personality behind it. And I think for me, those are my biggest things.
Mm.
Also, if people buy a lot of things, they get things for free in my store. So
I'm
it
sure
can
that is
often
okay.
motivate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I know when I sold tie-dye at the markets in the 90s, I think 60% of my sales were blue and purple colors.
Hmm.
Is that color combination still so popular?
Definitely purple, blue, and black for me.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Okay.
it's definitely the favorite. I think sometimes, the incredibly bright colors is scary for a lot of people,
Yes.
but they can come out of their shell a little bit, but still feel a little bit, behind closed doors if they do the purple, blue, and black thing.
I-
But
I've
it's definitely the
I've
most
always
common.
wondered what the psychology is behind it. So thank you for
Yeah, I think that's maybe the motivation, that they really want to be a hippie. They really want to be that colorful and spiritual, but
uh,
they're a little bit scared about other people's, when other people look at them, and that combo just kind of does it for them.
yes. I always used to giggle a little because they'd walk in and say, I want something completely different. Let me order the blue and purple one.
Yeah. I think my other popular one at the moment is greens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Greens can also
But
be very.
definitely the blue purple. Like if I don't have that on my stand, then you are not going to sell to a lot of the customers.
Mm, 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 mm. And how do you deal with the monotony almost of making the same color combinations again?
Yeah, so I kind of split myself into two ways of thinking, because we sell on Take a Lot as well. And on
Okay.
Take a Lot, you have to have the same thing. You can't constantly be uploading.
Ah,
Yeah. So there's the one side of my business that I keep as it's mundane and
yes,
it's routine, that this is the set that goes through to Take a Lot.
yes.
And then for the market stuff, it's me being creative, and I play with colors, and I never have necessarily a fixed palette.
Okay.
I have all my tabs open, and I'm chucking little bits of this color and that color. And then, so when somebody says to me, I want one exactly like this, I just say to them, I don't know that I can, because I'm not entirely sure what that color combo was.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, so the monotony side of thing, obviously, I have my standards that go on,
Yes.
but I make sure that I have, at the same time, I make those items that are creative for me.
Okay. Okay. And tell us more about Take a Lot. How's it working for you?
Yeah, so it's working quite well. Obviously, there's logistical things, like you're paying for the space that you're using in their warehouse, and if you don't have it at their warehouse, then there's an additional courier cost and everything that sort of comes in. And Take a Lot wants their share, and it's a proper business,
Mm,
where you need to stock them with stuff, and you have to stock between Johannesburg and Cape Town. So you can't just stock in the Johannesburg warehouse. It has to be in both. And
mm,
you've got to keep your stock up. So when, a certain size and color and everything is going out, you got to make sure that you can replenish that stock. But
mm.
it works for us. I wouldn't say it's my major income stream as far as the tie dye is concerned, but it's on there. And so it's probably not necessarily a good thing for Take a Lot, but they advertise that it comes from Original Hippies. And then what do people do? They
Ah,
Google Original Hippies,
yes.
and it comes straight back to me. So whether or
Okay.
not it's not a main income stream for me, I think probably the Googling after the fact
Yes.
then sends me business in other ways.
Yes, because I'm sure people will go, well, if this is what they've got on Take a Lot, then let's see what's in the rest of their
What else
collection.
they have? Yes, because I
Okay.
have a very standard t-shirts, pants, hoodies that go to Take a Lot, and
Okay.
obviously I have a lot more than that.
Yes.
Um, so I think you'll find a lot of people, they see where it's coming from, and then they go on Facebook or they Google to find it.
So Take a Lot is almost another way of marketing for you.
Yes, that's what I use it for. I
Well,
purely
yeah.
use it as a marketing. I don't
Okay.
consider it necessarily as an income stream. I
Okay.
consider that as it's something that is used for marketing.
Okay.
My products have my name on it, so as soon as they go out, you have my product, and people will Google it.
Yes.
So for me, it's a marketing tool.
Yes, and I'm pretty certain it hasn't changed, but people who buy tie-dye tend to be repeat buyers. Once they know that
Yes,
they can get a quality product from you, they'll come back the next time they need something like that again when the
and
old
for
one's
me,
worn out.
that's for me very, very important. I'm very fussy on my fabrics that I buy.
Mm,
I know the manufacturers that I buy rolls from,
mm,
because I want that same quality every single time. I need the fabrics to drape correctly on your body.
Mm,
It's not about going and buying this and buying that and dyeing it. Like, I do that sometimes if I see something funky
mm,
and I know that I can dye it and make it great. But I think most of my customers are return customers, where they know that this product, and the way that I've got it going is that my stuff doesn't wash out.
mm,
Like, I have customers that have clothing from 5 years ago and it still looks just like the day that they bought it. So
mm,
those things for me are very important, and they know
mm,
that they can come and buy it, and it's not gonna, they only come, it's maybe a bad sales tactic, but some of them only come back when it's dropping to pieces because they've
mm,
had it for so long and they want a new one exactly like that.
mm,
But definitely repeat customers.
mm, mm. It's great if you've managed to get your quality to that point that the color doesn't wash out.
Yeah,
Because
it took me a while, but I'm a biochemist, so
yes,
it's beneficial for me, figuring out
yes,
the chemistry of how it works and everything.
yes. I think that's quite a common complaint with people when they buy tie-dye is that it runs in the wash and it fades quickly. And I know how tricky it can be to get it
Mm,
the chemistry to that sweet spot where it just lasts and lasts. Where the color actually outlasts the fabric.
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
That's where I'm saying it's where their clothing is kind of falling apart, not because the vibrance is gone. They
Yes.
just can't repair it anymore and they now need something new.
Yes. Yes. So, what have been your biggest challenges with this business?
I think it's typical for any tie-dye business, getting to that point where you are using the money from the business to buy your stock.
Mm,
I'm fortunate in the fact that I have a full-time job and I can pump money into the business. But I think there was a stage where, finding that spot where you could use the money that you had made from sales to buy new stock, to buy new dye and keep it at that level was probably one of the more challenging, getting to that spot. And I think that's maybe where a lot of businesses break, because they can't keep up with demand because they can't buy the stock.
mm,
And I know that sounds silly, that you've got customers who want something, but you don't have that capital,
mm,
in hand to be able to do it. And I think I've been very fortunate to be able to have a salary that can get it to the point, past that point where it's a profitable business.
mm.
And also some of the techniques that, like from Carl, Carl,
I do.
Mr. Tada,
Yes.
and his stitching and stuff like that. I've tried so many times and I'm still not getting it. I think it's more a patience situation than anything
Yes.
else.
Not so
Those
easy, those stitch
spirals. Yeah.
designs.
I tried to make a minion once and it just came out looking like a little yellow fluff ball.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I think I would really love to be able to have the patience and the time to do that, but
Mm,
still, as of yet, I haven't mastered doing that.
mm,
And super spirals, they are absolutely beautiful, but time consuming,
mm.
on a whole other level. And the fact that I do have a full-time job, I'm not able to dedicate that amount of time to it.
Mm, mm. And that was always the trick for me at the market was finding the sweet spot with a pattern and a colorway and whatever between okay, what will the customer pay for this t-shirt? Because a customer won't pay you more for a t-shirt with a more complicated design on
Mm,
it. A t-shirt's a t-shirt's a t-shirt. They want one price.
yeah.
So it's almost up to you as the maker to decide, okay, this is how far I'm going to go, and I'm not going to invest any more time in it than this because as soon
Mm,
as I do, then this is running the business at a loss.
yeah. And I think a lot of people don't take into consideration their time when
Mm,
they are calculating costs,
mm,
because they're just trying to get a sale and they forget that their time, it takes a lot. I've seen some of the things that Timothy does with the super spirals takes him 11 hours
mm,
to do, and that's an immense amount of time. And although it's beautiful, I think the South African market is just not at that level of paying
mm,
for that artistry.
mm,
That even though it's beautiful, the money just isn't there for
mm,
that market, and you have to settle for a simpler market
mm, mm,
that people are willing to pay for.
mm. And a lot of South Africans are not that discerning when it comes
Yes.
to the different patterns. Uh, they don't know the difference between something that's taken you 5 minutes to make and something that's
Hmm.
taken 5 hours.
Yeah, like geoid designs, I love doing them because when the color splits and stuff, it's beautiful, but it takes so much time doing those
Mm,
geoids and the tying of the sinew, and they still just want to pay the same price that they're going to pay for a
mm,
spiral, which is pretty quick.
mm,
And you can do the spirals pretty quick, and you can dye them quickly, and but the amount of time you spend on a geoid and the space that it takes to,
mm.
like when you're dyeing with bottles, it's quick. You can do multiple t-shirts at the same time. You do an ice dye with a geoid, and it's taking up physical space
Yes,
for quite a period of time, and then you can only do so many,
yes,
if it makes sense, so
yes, yes.
those things all you have to take into consideration, and like you say, the South African market is just not that discerning and knowledgeable on a person's time.
Mm, mm. Do you ever get people in your stand who kind of expect you to make the kind of patterns that you'd see on a group like tie-dyeing on Facebook?
Definitely.
Okay.
Not so much the styles like say Carl's, where it's stitching and stuff like that. I think that for the South African market, it's not here yet.
Okay.
Nobody can do it,
Thank
and I don't
goodness.
really think, yes, I don't think anybody's seen, or thought that it's even possible.
Mm,
But probably a lot of the shibori type stuff
mm,
and the batik, a lot of people want you to be able to copy it.
mm,
And even though I've been doing this for 10 years, some of the time you look at it and you think, I don't know how they did it,
mm, mm,
and they want you to replicate it. And
mm,
I've had products of yours brought to
mm.
me and said, can you copy?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I
So like
love
some of
that.
the dresses, yeah. So some of the dresses you did way back when, because I remember going to the rooftop market where you were when I was a little girl, like, and being in your stall. So, you know, you have that impression in the market, and yes, people bring it to you and they ask you to copy it,
Yes,
and trying to explain to somebody that this is somebody else's art,
yes,
and yeah, I can try and replicate it for you, but it's not the same.
yes. So in future, when those walk in, take the donuts. Please make them.
Yeah.
I'm not selling tie-dye anymore, and
Yeah.
I would love to know that you're copying the stuff that I used to make. I think it's
But it still
wonderful.
happens. You still get people coming, and everybody knows from the rooftop market and Irene market. Like,
Mm.
just me being a little girl, I remember going to your stand and seeing stuff, and I loved it.
Oh,
I
that's amazing.
absolutely
You're
loved
giving me
it.
goosebumps, but you're also aging me here. Oh, that's so wonderful. And
Yeah.
what sorts of fabrics are you working on at the moment, and where do you source them in South Africa?
So there's two of the places that I get them are Durban side,
Mm,
because they come in from the ship. So I don't know where they're getting them from.
mm,
I'm not at that point, like, with everything that you make, you can take it to a point of whether or not you're willing to import it yourself, or whether or not you don't want to deal with that, and you just want to get it for the people who's doing that business.
mm,
And the fabrics I get from Rubatex in South Africa and
mm,
Ubertex. So there's two companies that have
mm,
very similar names.
mm,
But I can see that Ubertech seems to be doing less and less these days.
mm,
So I just had quite a big order that I placed with Rubertex that came in. And those are my preferential fabrics that I use are viscose spandex and viscose rayon,
mm, mm,
and also viscose lycra.
mm,
Those are for my pants and my dresses,
mm,
and then also cotton lycra
mm, mm.
for the things that require a little bit more strength
Yeah,
or
viscose
formating.
just is so beautiful when you dye
It
it.
really is.
Yeah, it's
It's
delicious.
beautiful. It takes the dye beautiful, and it feels beautiful.
Mm,
Anything mixed with viscose, whether
mm,
or not it's pure viscose, if it is the viscose spandex, just the way that it falls, the
mm,
comfort, the softness.
mm,
It's For me, it's the best fabric to use.
mm. When I was at the market in the 90s, there was an Indian in Lenasia who somewhere along the line had bought a garage full of viscose from somewhere.
Oh wow.
And he gave it to me really cheap.
Mm.
Then when his supply ran out, was I in trouble because I couldn't find it anymore, and
Yeah.
I certainly couldn't find it at the price that I'd been buying it
Mm.
until then. I was
Yeah.
mortified.
Yeah, I'm quite thorough when I do my searching to try and find the best place.
Mm,
But it's a whole other job on its own, sourcing, and getting it at the best price so that your customer, because I don't charge too much for my products, but it has to be worth it.
mm, mm,
And I do quite a different range, a wide variety of things.
mm,
So, but I absolutely love doing it and sourcing the stuff. I think I've now got my sources down
mm,
of
mm.
where I get everything from, and I'm set in that aspect.
And are you sewing the stuff at home or are you using a CMT factory?
So I don't even use a CMT factory. What I have is there's two ladies
Mm,
that I employ, and
mm.
they have industrial sewing machines, and they do everything for me.
Ah,
So I
okay.
buy in the rolls. I give them the patterns that I want done,
Mm.
and they make for me.
So you're creating jobs.
Yes, and
That's
that's, I
awesome.
think, one of the best things about it is that there is job creation in it. There's being your own boss
Mm,
with tie dye. There's job creation in tie dye.
mm,
The amount that you can get from it, I think, is just, it's an amazing tool.
mm, mm. When I first started doing this in the 90s, one of my brothers said to me, "You will never ever be able to create a business out of this."
No, of course you can. You can create millions of businesses out of it.
The hard part is picking one, hey?
Yes.
So, your setup for actually doing the dyeing, is it at
Mm.
home? Is it in your garage? Are you working
It's in my
outside?
kitchen.
Wow.
Yeah, so I do everything in my kitchen, and I can do high throughput in my kitchen,
Wow.
surprisingly enough. It can look a bit chaotic, I won't lie. And my kitchen blinds are multicolored from splashing, and I've definitely had a few oopsies where I've dropped an entire tub of powder
Okay.
dye, and that's
Okay.
worse than liquid dye because
Yes.
it aerosolizes, it goes everywhere.
Yes.
And you just sort of stand there not moving, thinking, what now?
Yeah.
What do I do?
You spend months cleaning that up.
Yes, it
Yeah.
takes forever, and then it's still months later you're still finding it somewhere.
Yes. I once had a chap who worked for me, and I'd left him. I had separate areas for dyeing and for binding. I had left him with a binding job for the day, and
Mm.
I'd gone into town to see customers. And when I got home, he decided to sneak into my dyeing room to dye
Mm.
some stuff, hoping that I wouldn't know. And you could follow the trail of powder the way he stood in
Mm.
indecision with the spoon like this. And he had succeeded in spreading dye on every surface from the
Uh,
dye room through the binding room into the bathroom onto the bathroom tiles.
mm-hmm.
And he was mortified because I made him clean up afterwards. And like it took him days to
Yeah.
to just get to the bottom of it. I was like, I can't believe you thought that you could hide that from me.
No, so strange. It really, it travels everywhere. It's like glitter.
Yes,
You can't get rid of it.
yes,
It's everywhere. It's ingrained
absolutely.
in you until you learn how to
Yes,
keep it in a spot.
yes, yes, absolutely. Now, what do you enjoy the most about your little tie-dye business?
Opening the product when I'm finished dyeing,
Okay.
because yeah, like it really is. It's like a little Christmas present.
Yes,
You don't know what it's going to come out like, even though you've done exactly the same thing a million times, they still come out unique and different, and these little things hiding in them. And yeah,
yes,
I love it about that.
yes. And does your whole family line up and look at the wash line?
I get people like my family coming and taking pictures
Oh, that's fantastic.
because you have this full washing line just of different tie-dye things.
Oh,
And my husband will find the most strange places to hang them, when we've run out of space, and then all of a sudden they're in the backyard somewhere, and they're over the greenhouse, and
okay. Okay. Yes,
yeah.
drying was always a challenge for me, and particularly in
Mm.
summer when it rains.
Yes, because you have to be quick. If it's out there drying and it starts spitting, you got to be quick.
Yeah, yeah. And also when it rains at markets, it can be a challenge.
Very challenging.
Yes.
It's something I guess we all have to deal with, because even if it's an undercover market,
Mm.
People tend not to come out if
Yes.
it's raining.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
a little bit of water fear, I guess, but
Yeah.
it's a challenge. And
Absolutely.
I've had it once before where one of my own garments that I had on, I was rushing to get it finished for a market. And I obviously didn't wash the dye out properly.
Okay.
And it started raining.
Okay.
And my whole body was turned blue because I was drenched trying to save, the stock from getting wet and everything. And
Yes.
by the time I got home and I took the garment off me, it was still on me. Yeah, so it can be quite interesting.
Oh, Angela, it's been absolutely amazing chatting with you today. It's taken me back 20 years.
It's good though.
In the best possible way. Thank you. Thank you. That was
That's
delightful.
really good.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, if anybody would like to buy your tie dye, where can they find you online?
Okay, so there's a few options. There's Take a Lot, like we said.
Hmm.
Also, my website, it's under construction at the moment, and that is originalhippies.co.za.
Hmm.
Very straightforward. On Facebook, it's Original Hippies SA
Hmm.
as well. You can go on there, have a look at what I've got, and then just message me.
Hmm.
And then also, we have another website called ohsocrafty.co.za, and some of the tie dye is up on there as well.
Okay, fantastic.
So there's a few options, and then obviously at the markets.
Okay, okay, awesome. I hope that some of the people watching come and find you and buy your beautiful creations.
Thank you very much, Melanie.
Have a lovely day.
You too.